So I was looking through my magazines that I have, and I came across some of my Somerset Studio ones and decided that it was time to deconstruct those and remove the parts that I wanted to keep. Now this is the most recent one that has come out that I have purchased. There might be one after this. And this is the Art of Paper and Mixed Media. These are great magazines, and one of the things that they include in the magazine, which they're not in here now, is there'll be a section in it, like they were right here, where they include these things that they call artist papers. The papers themselves are pieces of background art, I guess you could say, that assorted artists have done and contributed to the magazine, and the reason they're in there is so that we can pull them out and use them for collage work or to stare at or whatever. And generally, let me just grab something. This is a piece of scrapbook paper, but you know, maybe it could be something like this. There would be just a general something going on so that you can have some pretties. And then on the back, of course, it says who made it. So I decided I was going to get all of those out of there and put them in this book. This book I got from Tuesday Mornings a few years ago, and it is a nice fabric cover with this sturdy cover and an elastic band, and it has a little bit different kind of a binding system. It has these cable rings, and once I get to the part where they connect together, I'll show you how it works. But it allows for a little bit easier expansion because they stretch rather than a hard ring like normal binder rings. And I thought this would be a good idea to use in here. This originally had pages in it to do, what's it called? Decorating in your home. You know, I had a section for, research. And you had little cards that were in it where you could put your paint swatches and your fabric swatches and go through your house and figure out how you wanted to redecorate. So I didn't need all that, but I actually have two of these. My other one contains my stamped images that I've received in mail swaps and cutouts and all kinds of things like that. So this one, here is the first page. Here's an example of one of those artist pages I was talking about. And I didn't want to use like a super high quality paper in here because I'm just going to be doing pretty much collaging on it. So I had quite a few of these little journal books that I received from Tuesday Mornings. Well, I wouldn't purchased. And, you know, as you can see, they're an 80-pound paper. It's a drawing pad, and I've been using these in some of my other artwork, but I do know that if you get them really wet, they will start to disintegrate where the little rings were. And obviously I can't take those rings pattern and use them in here, so I just trimmed little ring portions off of the paper. So I have a whole bunch of these, which are pretty fun. I think I'll do something with them. They remind me of, like movie strip now, so they'll be a fun element to use in collage work. And now that I had that cut off, I needed some way of creating holes to allow for putting these pages in, but the paper being more sturdy. So I looked in my paper collection area and I found my watercolor pad, 140-pound paper. And I thought, well, this is a lot sturdier paper than this. So I went through and I cut 1-inch strips from the paper and punched holes in it like this. The holes were awesome and matched up a traditional 3-hole punch without having to adjust any of the holes. And as you can see, it's slightly offset where the hole is closer to this side than that side, and that worked out perfect. Because then I was able to add a piece of, I used this Miracle tape, it's double-sided tape. I put a piece starting at the corner down to about here, same from this end, and then a small piece here. And then I went through and I took my pages that I had trimmed up and I attached them to that flap so that they would be able to turn. On the back side of them, I added a hole reinforcement there and there. So I went through and placed the artist papers in a repeating fashion. So one, skip two, there's another one, skip one, there's another one. So I have blank pages here to work on for other things, which is still going to be collage elements. So as you can see here, here's my tab, and there's the back. And they're stuck on there really good. I do need to go back through and, you know, really burnish everything. I didn't do that the first time around, so that's one of my things I'm working on. And then when I put the collage image in, you know, I flipped it over and I used my, what's this thing called? My tape runner, and I just put a square around it. I wasn't careful about making sure I got all the way to the edge or anything like that. You know, there's parts here where I can put my finger, and that might work well if I'm going along and I decide I wanted to tuck a little something behind there, then I'm actually able to do so. I didn't do that with the intent of being able to tuck things, but it's just an added bonus. So here's a lot of those. I'm going to try and skip the blank pages so you can see these images that come from the magazine. And these are going to be really fun as I go through the magazine and find, you know, artwork and projects that I think would be really nice to keep, or that might look really interesting on these backgrounds. And then you know, it's pretty much what Caged Fish refers to as a glue book. And there's a lot of people who do these. Dee Dee Willingham, she does different, you know, glue book kind of projects. There's tons of people who do these, so this is not some kind of original idea. You know, it really isn't anyone's original idea. People have been doing trimming and gluing and stuff for years, right? So my thought is that if I take the magazine apart and only keep the portions that I like, just like I was doing with the birds and blooms that I've showed before, then I will have maximized my space by having just this with the interesting images inside, rather than a stack of 10 magazines. I'm looking down there on the floor, and there's probably about 10 of them there. I had like a year's subscription plus a few I had picked up off the shelf. And then also with these additional pages in here that are blank, I have room to add more artist pages into it if I choose to pick up another edition. And then on top of that, I have my friend Gina has graciously picked up the Flow magazine for me from her Barnes & Noble, because I don't have one in Alabama. And she's sent that to me in the mail, and I'm hoping it shows up today. And that's the last one. But I can use some of those images from maybe the Flow magazine in here too. This does not have to just be a specific Somerset Studio book. Obviously, any pictures that strike your fancy can go in here. So this lovely found objects work here by, oh, I don't remember her name, Finnebar. You know, that would look, maybe not on that picture, but that image itself would look lovely, trimmed out and, you know, added in somewhere with her work. And I'm sure there's another one in here somewhere that doesn't have the title stuck on it. And the other thing that I considered was, so say I'm going through the magazine. Oh, and by the way, if you take your heat tool and you heat up the glue in the center here, it helps you smush the magazine out farther, so you can actually rip it all the way back from the glue portion. I learned that from Shannon Green. So for instance, as I was going to say, if I come along and I find an article like this one here with the security envelope pictures, and I want to have all the pages, I can get all of those out, trim them, clip them together somehow, whether I use a staple or maybe I use some washi tape or whatever. I can hook all of that to one of these little flaps and then include it in there as well. so I don't lose, you know, a portion of the article by just trying to glue it down. I can also do what they call tipping in, which is, you know, the same thing. Hook the pages together and then, you know, tape those pages to one of these blank ones, and then I'll have it to be able to flip through. So once I get to some of those pages, I'll be able to decide more exactly how I want to have that done, whether I include it on one of these little guys here or just tape it in. It really will depend on how much space I still have, because believe it or not, adding that small piece of paper to each of these pages, here's the watercolor paper because it's considerably thicker. Let me get a good grip of all of them here. This is how thick the pages really are, but this is how thick the area is where it's double pages, where the two have been glued together or taped together. So it allows me a lot of space in this section for adding things, but I don't necessarily have a lot of space here on the binding edge. So I think on some of those pages it probably will be best to tape it to, you know, one of these blank ones. I hope that gives you a good idea of maybe what you can do with some of your books. Obviously you're not going to, more than likely you're not going to be able to find one of these. So maybe a 3-ring binder, or if you have a Zutter or a cinch machine, then you can, you know, revert back to the way my book actually originated, which was in one of those. I actually had started putting these into the book with the coil still on it. And I was already getting alligatored, and I hadn't even glued anything to these yet. So I decided that was not going to work for me. But if you have one that has like a really good sized ring on it that gives you lots of page space, then, you know, whichever works. Alright, hope you enjoyed seeing this idea I'm going to work on. I will show updates as I go along on how my pages are progressing if you're interested, and I'm sure you are. And if you're new to my channel, you can hit that subscribe button down below so that you can see those updates along with my other projects that I'm working on. And feel free to comment. I appreciate your input and whatever good things you want to say. And if you want to find me in my other social media, that's in the description box below, along with my postal address where I'm always accepting ATCs from my subscribers. I'd love you to send an ATC so that I can show it in a video, and then I'll put it up over on my design board with all my other ones. So hope you're having a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye!